Butch and Bob Show.
World famous Butch and Bob Show right here on WIFO 105.5 FM in Jesup, Big Dog Country Radio. Morning, Bob.
Good morning.
How you doing?
I'm doing great.
Doing good?
Yep.
We're racked, stacked, and packed this morning here on the world famous Butch and Bob Show. And on the phone with us is Elizabeth Burns Thompson. And Elizabeth Burns Thompson is with the Modern Ag Alliance, and they're talking about a piece of legislation that State Representative Stephen Meeks has sponsored. And Bob, she is on the phone with us right now. Take it away with Elizabeth.
Again, appreciate you being here on the phone. The information we got is Stephen Meeks has a bill, may go to the floor sometime this week. So first of all, tell us what the organization you represent, the Modern Ag Alliance, is all about and what the bill is all about.
Yes, and I want to thank you first for having me on this morning. Have enjoyed being down in Georgia as many times as I have been, and it's great to be part of the show. But Modern Ag is a coalition of about 100 different grower groups. So your commodity associations, state farm bureaus, and the like, from really all across the country from coast to coast, that are working on, ensuring that farmers continue to have access to those critical tools that they need to be productive. In Georgia, we are really proud to have the partnerships of entities like Georgia Agribusiness Council and the State Farm Bureau, fruit and vegetable growers, and many others that have stood up to help champion this particular topic. So we have been working with Representative Meeks and counterparts in the Senate on Senate Bill 144 that we believe will achieve just that. We were very pleased to see it move through the Senate floor here very recently, and are optimistic to see similar results over in the House here hopefully very soon.
Well, the information I got is that they're having some resistance in the House. So how do you think that vote's going to go? And what was the vote in the Senate? Was it overwhelmingly, or was it close, or do you know?
It was a good vote. It was a bipartisan vote, and it was a strong support vote. Don't quote me on the exacts. I believe off the top of my head it was like a 42-12 vote. And that bipartisanship, that broad support, I think is reflected not only in the chamber there in Georgia, but in, frankly, many of the other states that we've been working on very similar legislation in as well. One of the other things I would be remiss to not point to, too, is our organization also recently did a pretty wide-scale poll on this topic to help showcase to lawmakers that this is a topic that's not only interesting, I think it's interesting, but of interest, of course, of interest to folks in rural America, but urban America as well. And not only do they recognize the threat of what growing litigation, the cost that imposes on agriculture and farmers as a whole, they worry about what that means to their ability to, put food on the table each and every day, and frankly, what it means to national security as a whole. But one of the pieces that I think is really telling, and I hope that lawmakers can take to heart, is one of the last questions we asked is, well, what do folks believe they should do about it? And at the end of the day, in Georgia specifically, we found that 79% of the general public supports lawmakers that stand with farmers on this issue. So this is their constituents saying, this issue is a priority and we want you to do something about it.
As everyone knows, agriculture is very important in the state of Georgia, and I'm sure Stephen Meeks, being a farmer, is very familiar with this topic, so he's a good person to be having him present it during the legislative session. Again, it says, the information I got says 90% of farmers say crop protection products to prevent crop loss, and the restrictions on these tools would negatively impact their farms. 88% of farmers say pesticides make farming less expensive. So, again, I guess those are some of the key issues on the bill. Just what, like I said, who's against it? I don't, what so explain. Like I said, if it means that much to the farmer, so where's the resistance coming from? So I'm having a hard time.
I think anytime you get into kind of minutiae or details about labeling, right, we're talking about the interplay between the role of state law and how that intertwines or kind of connects to the federal law, which in this case dictates federal labeling. At the end of the day, the bill itself is very simple, contrary to, I think, what some folks have that our opponents would like to paint it to be. It is not any type of immunity. It is not any type of shield. At the end of the day, what this does is clarify how manufacturers can satisfy their responsibility to warn. And that that responsibility is entirely encompassed into the federal label. Those of your listeners that may have their applicator's license are very familiar with pesticide labels. In fact, they probably are circling in their head right now, the label is the law, because that is something that is so intertwined with herbicides and pesticides and the trainings that go into that. At the end of the day, that is the crux of what this does, is provide consistency and clarity, and helps put a stopgate to some of the frankly meritless litigation that has grown up around the label.
Yeah,
I
was just going to introduce
Elizabeth Burns Thompson.
Right.
Elizabeth Burns Thompson, with the Ag Alliance, is pushing legislation, is helping State Representative Stephen Meeks with a piece of legislation that he has sponsored. And so, what can our listeners do to help?
Absolutely. I encourage folks to visit our website, modernagalliance.org. We've got a wealth of details about kind of the problems that we faced, the solutions that we're working on there in Georgia and all across the country. We've got more details about that poll I was mentioning, as well as an easy way for folks to get involved and send a message to their lawmakers. The voice of the farmer, and frankly, the voice of the general public, is incredibly important in this conversation. So lawmakers do need to hear from you on this.
And once again, that website is?
modernagalliance.org.
Okay. And so hopefully folks can help out. If we know good and well that if State Representative Stephen Meeks is sponsoring a bill, there's got to be a great bill. And so let's help our state representative out with this piece of legislation. And Elizabeth Burns Thompson, where are you calling from this morning?
I'm actually up in the Midwest, so my family farms eastern part of the state of Iowa, but it's been great to visit Georgia here a handful of times over the last few months.
Okay. We wish you much success with this bill that you're trying to help Stephen Meeks get passed through the legislature here in the state of Georgia, and passed in the Senate. Now, hopefully it'll pass in the House, and then there'll be the bill will take place when the governor signs it, whenever that may be.
We look forward to celebrating that too as well.
Anything else you want to add, Elizabeth?
Just that I encourage folks to make their voices heard, and we look forward to celebrating success there in Georgia here very soon.
All right. Well, you take care, and it's good talking to you this morning.
Thanks so much for having me.
All right. Take care. All right. Big Dog Country Radio, WIFO, 105.5 FM in Jesup. And beginning tomorrow, the Jesup Drive-In will have their grand reopening tomorrow and Saturday. But coming up a couple of weeks or a few weeks after that, they've got some horror movies coming up. And we've got the folks in the studio with us now, or fixing to come in the studio with us in the green room right now, that are part of these horror movies. I can't wait. I'm looking at the website of JesupMovies.com, JesupMovies.com, and you'll see what's showing at the Strand Theater in downtown Jesup, and also showing at the Jesup Drive-In. And the name of the double feature coming up soon is Twin Tales of Terror. And it's a couple of different movies, and we'll have them on in just a few moments here on the world-famous Butch and Bob Show here on WIFO. So be prepared to be scared.
South Georgia weather. Here's your WIFO forecast.
Good morning, everyone. A little patchy fog for the first part of our Thursday. The rest of the day is going to be mostly sunny, very mild with highs in the low 70s. Partly cloudy tonight, a low of 55. Tomorrow's going to be sunny and a little bit warmer. Saturday's sunshine, very breezy, highs in the mid-70s. More clouds for Saturday night, leading to scattered showers and thunderstorms on Sunday. I'm Georgia meteorologist Laura Huckabee in the GNN Weather Center.
Hi, this is Appleton County Sheriff Mark Melton. I would like to invite you to the Appleton County Law Enforcement First Responder Expo on March 19, 2025 at the Appleton County Ag Center. With over 60 local, state, and federal agencies represented, this event gives us an opportunity to engage our youth and give them a glimpse of the numerous career fields available in the law enforcement and first responder arenas. Come visit the many interactive booths and watch the live exhibitions that will take place throughout the day. Gates will be open 8:30 to 2:30. We hope to see you there.
Big Dog Country Radio, WIFO, 105.5 FM in Jesup. We continue with the world-famous Butch and Bob Show here on WIFO. In the studio with us right now is Mayor Ralph Hickox, but he doesn't have his mayor hat on today. He's got his Jesup Drive-In Strand Theater hat on this morning to talk about what's going on at the Jesup Drive-In. Good morning, Ralph.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm doing excellent.
Man, it's been a while since you've been in here. Where you been?
It's been like 2 or 3 weeks.
At least.
Well, we got a friend with me here.
You got a friend with you here this morning, and y'all had set this up for them to come in, but tell us about the re-grand opening of the Jesup Drive-In tomorrow and Saturday.
Well, we obviously done a lot of work, and we got the screens readjusted and both projectors rebuilt, marquee rebuilt, pretty large investment. And so to kick it off, we're going to have a big weekend. I've got food trucks coming in, I think 15 food trucks. I got close to 200 vendors, swap meet. We're going to have a car show, got motorcycles, classics, modern vehicles. The Autumn Hall Classics will be, Autumn Hall Classic group will be the judges and giving out the trophies for that. It's free to come in. It starts around 1 o'clock.
Tomorrow or Saturday?
Saturday. 1 o'clock. And that breaks down around 7. And then both nights we have movies. We're playing, good Lord, that new movie Novocaine with Captain America on one screen and Hard Eyes and Paddington on the other screen. It's pretty cheap to get in. The only fee to get in would be to watch the movie. Of course, to come see the rest of stuff's for free. But we're really, really, really excited to get driving back open. And part of this is we're having a premiere of this movie. Peter here with us, who's aiming the camera at me.
Yeah, he's trying to. He's videoing all. Peter, what's your last name?
Last name is Hyoguchi.
I didn't want to try to pronounce it.
Yeah.
Ask you what
I'm
it
half
was.
Japanese.
Half Japanese.
Yep.
All right.
He might not be from these parts.
He's not here from these part, huh? All right. Now, y'all set up and tell us. Let me get back to this over here about the horror movies that's coming, a couple of them, to the Jesup Drive-In. When's that happening? And tell us a little about the movies and your involvement with them.
Well, I'm a film director, and I've directed one of the 2 horror films called The Occult. The other film is called A Hard Place. And we're touring the movie across the country. We've toured 7 states so far. And we're going to continue.
So when and where did you make the movies?
I made it in Los Angeles. The other film was made in Ohio.
Okay, and you were involved with the making of both of these? Were you directing both? One?
No, I just directed the first one.
Okay.
So I wrote, produced, and directed The Occult. And that was done in Los Angeles. And that's about a guy who falls in love with a fortune teller. And she's sort of like a sexy tarot card reader. Mm-hmm. And he falls in love with her, and she kind of brings him into her cult, which it turns out to be a satanic cult.
Oh, boy. All right. She's leading him down the dark side.
Exactly, yeah.
Right.
So it's a story that sort of warns about the dangers of the occult.
Now, how long have you been directing movies, Peter?
Yeah,
Right? Yeah, right, Peter.
I've been directing movies my whole life. My mom was an animator for Hanna-Barbera. She did Scooby-Doo and the Flintstones.
Cool.
So she taught me how to make cartoons as a child, and been making movies ever since. This is my 4th feature film. I direct commercials. I directed a Super Bowl commercial a couple of years ago.
How did you I know you grew up with it, but did you have to go to like a tech school or something like that, or school to learn all the ins and outs of directing?
Well, fortunately, I grew up in Los Angeles, and my mom was in the industry, and I was surrounded by people who are in the industry, mm-hmm. and I love it. I still love it, and that's my favorite thing is movies. And so I did go to UCLA Film for about a year.
Okay.
But yeah, I made my first feature film when I was 17, and got an art grant, and I've been making movies ever since.
Now you've got these 2 movies, and they're going. I think it's on the March 20th. Is when they're going to be shown at the Jesup Drive-In. So
Thursday, one night only. So
one night only.
Yeah,
Thursday, March 20th.
Yeah, a week from today.
Okay, and it's going to be that night. Mm-hmm. I guess beginning at 8. Ralph, isn't that what time you start the drive-in? 8 because of sunset not until 7:35.
Yeah, it's depending on what time it gets dark. So we'll have to see what time it really gets dark. But we're playing 8 o'clock right now.
All right, so you
got to get there at 7.
Yeah, get there at 7. Get a good spot, and they'll have food
mm-hmm.
and everything ready for you there. And so it's going to be 1 week from today. The Occult, which you directed, and what's the other name of the other movie again?
The other movie is called A Hard Place, and that movie was directed by Jay Horton, who's an Atlanta-based director, and he'll be here as well. We'll both be there. We'll be meeting everybody, and we'll be selling T-shirts and things like that if you want to buy one. But Jay shot the movie in Ohio, and that's a monster versus monster movie. It's about some thieves that rob a drive-in theater, and then try to hide out in an abandoned, what they think is an abandoned farmhouse, but then find themselves in the middle of a monster feud, two clans of monsters at war with each other. So that's the first film, and then the occult is after that.
What's surprising about the one I asked him about the cult, because this is kind of Bible Belt here, and it's cool. He says more of a storytelling about not doing that. Is that right?
Yeah.
It actually has a Christian message.
That would surprise you with the name, I think. But
don't go down the dark side.
Yeah,
but he's being tempted by that temptress.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and that I think that tarot cards and astrology and Ouija boards can be very seductive because we want to know answers. But that's the devil's business, and you can get seduced very easily.
Okay. And how did you come up with this idea? You said you wrote, produced, and directed the occult.
Yeah.
How did you come up with that, Peter?
Well, I found out that living in Los Angeles, there's a lot of occultists, and it's very hip and very accepted. It's not like the South, where that is frowned upon. L.A. is filled with real-life Satan worshipers, and the entertainment business is filled with them.
That's right.
Why now?
It's true.
That's why they call Los Angeles the land of fruits and nuts.
Yeah. But I found it very, very disturbing, very truly horrific, and what they do behind closed doors is very, very frightening. And I had to make a movie about it.
Wow. Yep.
So is this somewhat exposing some of that stuff in the movie?
Absolutely. Everything in the movie is stuff that is really happening.
Wow.
I'm not making any of it up.
Man, that'll be a great movie to see. And y'all doing like a drive-in tour.
Yes,
aren't you?
we're touring America's drive-ins.
Yeah, the Jesup Drive-In is one of the stops
That's right.
that y'all are doing, you and the other director are doing for these two horror movies. So tell us a little bit about that tour, how it got set up, where you're going, that kind of good stuff.
Well, last year I finished the film and realized that most distributors weren't picking up independent films. And in fact, there's a fifth of the amount of movies being released by Hollywood now. Used to be 5 movies a weekend. You remember that? Mm-hmm. Now it's 1. That's the average, is 1 new movie a week. So we're in a movie drought. And so I decided that I would approach theaters directly. And I found that they were very open because there's not a lot of films that Hollywood's giving them. Even though my movie was shot in Hollywood with Hollywood actors, very well-known people. The guy who created Chucky, the director of Fright Night and Child's Play, plays the villain in my movie. And everyone in the film is people you'll recognize from other movies. And the people who made it are all Hollywood professionals. But it was made without a movie studio, totally independently. So I decided I would, talk to independent theater owners. And I traveled Florida, Texas, Michigan, Ohio, Wisconsin, Minnesota last summer. And I went from theater to theater on my own, touring the film, and with great success. I filled audiences. We had between 100 and 250 people per screening. And then I thought maybe we could do a drive-in tour, and decided to team up with my friend Jay Horton, and because we both have horror films. So we thought maybe we'll do an old-fashioned horror double feature. And we contacted the Jesup Drive-In, as well as a lot of other drive-ins across the country. Most of the drive-ins are closed right now because it's cold.
It's winter, yeah.
But here in Jesup, it's warm enough that the drive-in's open, and they're just having their opening.
Yeah,
so this weekend
all
is their
kinds of
big
damage
opening.
from the hurricane, and
they've been closed for 6 months.
Yeah, now reopening this weekend, so it works out perfect because yours is coming up Thursday.
It's perfect. It's perfect timing. So they've been great, and they're hosting, and this is going to launch a nationwide drive-in movie theater tour this summer.
So this is the first one.
This is the first one.
Next Thursday.
This is the big drive-in premiere. Yeah.
What's interesting is how the industry's changed. How he's doing it is really how it used to be in the beginning.
That's right.
When they would make films, you'd have these actors, and they would tour the country to theaters. Jesup used to be visited all the time back in the 20s and 30s by these major actors.
Major actors came through and promoted it. Now they do it on talk shows, on radio and television, and podcasts and stuff like that. But it used to be, you'd see them. They come to town.
But it seems like, I don't know what's changed in Hollywood to make it that way. But that, like he's saying, that this is now becoming the new way. Is they're coming back out to visit us again.
The road show, the old-fashioned road show.
kind of like a band touring for their album, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Kind of
Yeah.
like a rock tour, going from town to town. It's fun. I get to see America, and growing up in Los Angeles, you kind of live in a bubble. We all live in our own bubbles, and Hollywood usually has a way that they depict the South, which is like a cliche. And then you come to the South, and it's nothing like how they depicted it in LA. They call these like the flyover states, but that's the real America. That's the real audience. It's keeping the whole thing moving. But I think there's a big disconnect between how Hollywood sees the middle of the country.
It's interesting talking to you. You grew up in the industry, with your parents, and you've been involved in movies all your life. You're in that bubble all your life, but you have stepped outside of it, looking back into it and into the flyover states, and you understand really what's going on in America.
Well, I've tried to introduce him to Southern culture since he's been here. It's been rather a little bit of a culture shock. I am curious, though. You said you did I didn't know that. You said you did a Super Bowl commercial. Which one?
It was for a energy solar panel company. They put solar panels on the roof of houses.
Which Super Bowl?
It was 2 years ago.
That would be Bob's question.
Who could remember all those?
Have to be
Unless
Kansas
you need
City,
the product, sometimes you don't remember it.
That was 3 years ago.
3 years ago.
Yeah.
3 years ago you did that. So it's interesting here. Have you been to a drive-in before?
Yes.
Okay.
I grew up going to drive-ins.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, my mom would take me to the drive-in, and it was I just remember the feeling of going to the drive-in as a child. It feels like a big event. It feels very special.
Yeah.
It's not just about the movie. It's about the community and about being under the stars. It's just like such a different, almost like another dimension. It feels so special. Mm-hmm. So those memories are very indelible. I think that they're when you go to an event like that, it's so different that I think that you capture something that you take with you for your whole life.
Okay.
Whereas if I see a movie on my home television, I forget. I don't remember when I saw that movie. I think I saw it. But every movie I see in the theater, but especially the drive-in, it's a memory you take with you your whole life.
Yeah.
People they'll come 2 hours early. They'll bring flatbed trucks with couches on the back or mattresses laid on the ground, and everybody's kids they don't even know each other. The kids play together on the playground, throwing frisbees. It's just a whole different atmosphere.
It is. I grew up in Jacksonville until I was age 14 and saw some movies down there at drive-ins. Moved to Jesup, and of course had the Jesup drive-in out there. Went to several movies through high school and through in my adult years out there. So I was glad to see that Ralph decided to reopen the drive-in after the damage from the hurricane. And that begins. Is it tomorrow night? Is it again the 14th? I got 14th and 15th.
Tomorrow night it'll be just food trucks and the movie.
And then Saturday's the big day with all the
and
stuff.
with the movie. And we open Sunday as well. You know what the favorite toy is on the playground?
What's the favorite toy?
I bet you'd never guess.
I'd never guess.
All right, so whenever I first started it, I've had two big loads of playground sand put out there, and I was going to spread it and put it underneath the play sets and all.
Right.
But I didn't get it done by the time the weekend came around.
Uh-huh.
And the kids were all over that sand stack. And
They like that little mountain of sand, huh?
Ever since then, I've just had to keep a pile of sand. And I think they carry it home with them because it goes down throughout the year. So it's going in the cars. But I have to keep the sand stack. People ask for it if I don't.
I bet you the parents love that. The kids get back in the car and there's little white sand everywhere, like going to the beach, and have to get home and vacuum it out. They're probably saying some words about you, Ralph, when they get home. The parents are.
Literally, I probably had 12 dump truck loads of sand over the years put there. But if it gets low, I'll have parents ask me, "Oh, you going to bring some more sand in?"
Yeah.
But it's the favorite toy out there.
Wow. Favorite toy out there, a big pile of sand.
There's swing sets. There's a jungle gym. Mm-hmm. It's really kid friendly. It's a great family night out.
Yeah, love the drive.
The funny part about that playground there, it wasn't there when I bought the place. My daddy passed away, and he was the mayor of Homeland, Georgia, and they changed out their playground. And when he passed away, they wound up giving it to me, the playground. That's the playground that I played on as a child in Homeland, Georgia.
No kidding.
I brought it up here, and
Is it safe for
great.
today's kids? I mean, we didn't have the safety things back when we were younger.
It'll get you by.
I'm not saying it's old, Ralph, but you got a lot of gray hair up there.
You just rub a little dirt in it, you'll be all right.
I can say that because I is one.
Walk it off.
Yes, sir. But we got this double feature coming up on next Thursday, March 20th, Twin Tales of Terror.
And if you go to twintalesofterror.com,
and it's all right there.
twintalesofterror.com.
twintalesofterror.com.
You can find out all about it, or you just go to the Jesup Movies website.
Yeah, JesupMovies.com, which is I'm on right now, and got those two movies coming up next Thursday, and that's just amazing that this is going to be the very first location for y'all to have this drive-in tour
And
with
the
you
first
and your
double
buddy.
your first double feature with us.
Yeah, with two different directors, two different movies shot in different places, coming together, and y'all going to tour this throughout the country at the drive-ins.
That's
and you
right.
get to start off right here in good old Jesup, Georgia, next Thursday.
This is ground zero, Jesup.
Ground zero. And the cool part is most movies you go to, you will not meet the directors, but he's going to. Are any actors coming into the directors?
I think we're going to have an actor coming out from the film, but we'll definitely have the two directors.
You don't normally, when you go to a movie, you don't normally get to meet the director,
No,
and you
they
don't,
don't.
Because they got stories of how they made it. It is really cool if you're watching any filming like that. We've had a few movies filmed at the drive-in, but to get to meet the actors and get to meet the directors, and I think you said you got some shirts and stuff y'all be selling.
We'll have a table set up, and then we'll be there so that people can come up and ask us questions, and if they want to buy a pin or a hat or
So they
a
call
t-shirt.
that merch in L.A. or swag, or what do they call it?
Merch.
Merch.
Yeah.
Call it merch. Okay.
It's going to be pretty cool.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
Okay. We got a real live L.A. person in the studio with us this morning. I feel special.
Well, I'm trying to get him southernized. I've been working on it. I worked on this. Let's try it again, y'all.
Well, I live in Texas. I moved to Austin, Texas. During,
You're in Texas. Oh, yeah.
During COVID, the moment they closed the restaurants in Los Angeles, I packed up everything and went to
Austin's
Texas.
like a mini L.A. just stuck in the middle of
Now,
Texas.
he struggled with this one. You ready on this one? Yep.
Yep.
No, you got to drag it longer. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, we like to turn one-syllable words into two syllables here in the South.
Yep.
Sometimes three if we're really feeling Southern.
It's been a lot of fun, though.
All right, next Thursday, a twin tale of terror with what's it called? The Hard Place, which is the other movie that your friend did.
Yeah, it's The Occult and A Hard Place.
A Hard Place.
Twin terrors.
A hard place is kind of like those humans getting stuck between the aliens and the predators in that movie.
Yeah, between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah,
if you
they
think
get
about
caught
it.
between. Yeah, that's gonna be a fun movie. And then your movie right afterward called The Occult, which has got a great movie, but also has a great message behind it also.
That's the part that I really want to stress because people hear is when you're not watching a cultic movie, it's more of exposure of the cult.
It's not pro-occult. I mean,
No, not at all.
there's so many movies from Hollywood that are pro-occult. And I just think it's evil and wrong. So this movie's really exposing it. It's actually exposes a lot about Hollywood. It takes place in Hollywood. It's about Hollywood.
I noticed on your card that you gave me here for your movie, The Occult, coming to a theater near you, you don't have anything on there other than that, but you got a QR code down here.
Yeah.
So you do the QR code and it's going to have all the information.
Everything,
right?
yeah.
Okay.
You may have seen the cards. I placed them strategically all around town.
Okay.
And you may have seen one or two of them kind of floating around.
Okay. Bob, you got any questions or comments for our director this morning?
No,
Real live LA director right here in the
Yeah.
studio with us.
Just glad the drive-in's coming back.
Yeah,
A lot of
me
people,
too. Me
because
too.
I remember seeing it after the hurricane, and it was questionable whether that was
You
going
rode
to
out there one day, first day, didn't you?
Yeah, it was bad.
It was bad. And the thing is, as bad as it looked that day, when I fired up the projectors, it was even worse. Because most of the money you don't see that we put in it, the fences, they're expensive. The marquee was expensive. But the projectors, they were both from the power popping on and surging. They were both pretty well destroyed. And they're expensive.
All right, we look forward to the double feature next week at the Jesup Drive-In. Starting, we'll get there around 7. The movie will start around 8 o'clock, and get to see these double feature, these horror movies, and it's great that we're the first stop for y'all's tour as you go around the country. And pleasure meeting you.
Great to meet you.
And
Thanks,
welcome
Butch.
to Jessup
Thanks,
of Wayne
Bob.
County.
Appreciate it. Thanks
And
for
hope
having
you
us.
enjoy your time here in town. Ralph, congratulations and thank you for reopening the drive-in beginning tomorrow.
Thank you for having us on here. When he told me he's coming on, I'm like, well, I'm going to come with you then. I love the Butch and Bob Show.
All right, y'all take care. Bob, anything else for him? All right. That wraps up the world-famous Butch and Bob Show here on WIFO 105.5 FM in Jesup, brought to you by the Service Department of G&S Auto Sales, First Southern Bank, Murphy Builder Supply, and by Heron Aldridge Insurance.